and then count. MLS Aces episode 204. This is your host, Tom Sweezy. I am joined back again with Uncle Sam Nelson. Sam, how are you doing this evening?
Doing very well. Thanks for having me back. I love it.
I mean, look, we're trying a different, style tonight. I just told you probably 30 seconds ago. We're trying to go live on YouTube instead of Twitch, see how that does, or see if anything's different. So we'll see how that goes. Have some high positive hopes there. But really, I guess the first thing I wanted to ask you, Sam, is how did you feel? I'm assuming, obviously, right, hoping that you caught the show last week. But how did you feel about this year's 2021 Uncle Sam Nelson Goalkeeper of the Year going to Carlos Coronel?
You know what? Fair play to him, right? Great season, right? So.
I mean, Vaughn and
I don't know.
We're openly against the vote, but
I didn't vote for him, so I don't know who did.
Well, in the 7 people we have in our main chat, I do have to say 2 of them are Red Bull fans, so maybe that swayed the vote a little bit.
I guess if there's only 7 of us, the vote. I feel like names should be included in this vote. I know
everyone's anonymous. Everyone's anonymous.
I know in the NHL it used to be anonymous, and then they started going out and reporters would ask each other who they voted for, and then write a story about it. And so then they just made it open to the public who voted for who. And so I kind of want to know, really, that's who you voted for?
You know what? To keep the promise to you and to anyone who listens to this, if we can get over 10 consistent people, I guess, contributing to MLS Aces, we get them in the main kind of voting pool. We'll release the names. We'll release the Twitter handles, the names, take that. All that.
Good enough. Yeah. So I don't know. There are a number of keepers that had good seasons. I wouldn't have voted the way that 2 to 3, 4 people voted for me. I don't know. But yeah, so that's all right. I'm happy to put my stamp of approval on any goalie. So
on Mr. Coronel. Look, he had a good year. I'll give him that. But I don't know if it was goalkeeper of the year worthy. In actual news, Matt Turner actually won
won it.
Yeah, actually won the MLS's award for that. So
yeah,
we'll give him that credit there. But I mean, Sam, I guess before we dive into anything, we have a lot going on, right? With I guess with MLS playoffs, with head coaching changes that have dropped, and we're going to talk about all of that. But I guess the real first thing that I wanted to point out is our sponsor for this episode, and I have to give the love, have to give the credit to Soccer 90. If you guys don't know what Soccer 90 is, Soccer 90 is going to be your primary source for all your Major League Soccer and international club gear needs. All MLS clubs are represented at soccer90.com, and you got to watch out for sales. Watch out for sales throughout the entire MLS Cup Playoffs and the entire MLS Cups, pop-up sales, exclusive, really short sales. Follow them on Soccer90 on Twitter and Instagram and you'll see when these sales are popping up. And to kind of add a little bit more to those sales, if you guys want to get a little bit more bang for your buck, right, you can go to soccer90.com, use promo code MLSAces. If you're watching on YouTube, check out the ticker down below, soccer90.com, promo code MLSAces. Get yourself a nice little discount. Support Soccer90. Get yourself some cool MLS gear, or, Champions League's going on right now. Get yourself some cool international club gear, and, help support us and Soccer90 and all of that as well. So thank you to Soccer90 for supporting and sponsoring this episode. Thank you guys for listening. And I think now we can dive a little bit into the soccer, a little bit into, what's actually been going on. And I think a little bit more credit I want to share. And I'm sure, Sam, you're happy with this first piece of news that is on the notes right now.
I am really happy.
You want to say it? I'll let you say
it. Yes. Bringing in drum roll, the Washington Spirit won the NWSL title last weekend with a 2-1 win over the Chicago Red Stars. And what a win it was. What a team. What a team the Washington Spirit is. It's been a hell of a season for the Spirit between getting rid of the coach, who is just a terrible human being, and really bringing that group of players together. And my God, did they play fantastically in the playoffs. And I didn't know what to expect out of the team going into the playoffs, and to make it through the finals really, really was very exciting, especially against Chicago, who's just a perennial, team of champions at this point, compared to Washington, who it's their first championship, and so it feels really good. It was really good as a fan.
The perennial finalists. I don't
right,
know
well, hey, I mean, the Spirit aren't making finals any time other than this year, so I'll take it, especially for a team who Washington had Rose Lavelle and Mal Pugh 2 years ago. And I was convinced that was the year that they were going to really make like a deep run, and they didn't. And then they got rid of both, really got some great additions. And my God, Trinity Rodman alone, like, what a draft pick. What a rookie season.
Her game in that, the rookie season alone, but that game, that final, she was going off. Like, she's amazing. She was showing why she was rookie of the year, why she was first team all NWSL, like, killed it. That was a fantastic showing from her.
Yeah, she's a fantastic player, and I can't wait to see what she does in the next couple seasons. Like, I think Washington really has a good player on their hands, and I hope we treat her properly and get her the right pieces around her to keep a championship team going.
And, I think that's all you can ask for, right? The rookie of the year, the Golden Glove winner, the Golden Boot winner, right? Washington Spirit overall, fantastic season. Major congratulations to them on their first NWSL title. And I think the comeback fashion was also pretty cool.
It was pretty sweet
as well. But we also had another final trophy raised last weekend in U.S. soccer. Congratulations to Union Omaha on winning their first USL League One title over the at that point reigning champion Greenville Triumph, 3-0. Union Omaha, I think only in their second year of existence, I think coming out absolutely dominating as an independent club within the U.S. soccer sphere. So major shout out to them. Evan Conway, Greg Hurst, two forwards on the team who scored in the final, but overall had fantastic seasons. Just want to give them their credit because a league title is a league title, and they're gonna be loving that moment forever. And I think, Sam, you and I as Football Manager fans can appreciate some lower league trophies being raised.
Oh, it's the best. It's the best. And Union Omaha's had a great team for both years they've been.
Yeah, both they made the final both years.
Yeah, like, what a great side. Like, whoever is their GM building that side knows what he's doing. So.
No, exactly. And before we kind of dive into the MLS Cup Playoffs, I want to quickly talk about Toronto FC and everything that's going on there. So these notes are a little out of order for sure. Just for you, Sam. These were just kind of how
they are a little bit. That's all right. I'm ready.
Over across the week, but I guess the first thing that I wanted to point out is earlier this week, Toronto FC announced that current head coach Javier Perez would not return to the team as manager in 2022. And then I think the following day, they also said that there was a mutual agreement between the club and general manager Ali Curtis leaving the club. All kind of leading into, again, a not so well hidden surprise that Bob Bradley is the new head coach, sporting director, general manager, whatever you want to call him there, of Toronto FC, leading and heading into 2022. So Vaughn and I talked a little bit about this last week, so I don't want to dive too deep into this, but obviously Bob had a lot of connections to Toronto. This was one of the worst kept secrets of the entire, I feel like, end of the season within Major League Soccer. But I guess, do you like the move of bringing in Bob to just take over full reign of the club?
Oh yeah, of course. Like, why wouldn't I think Bob knows U.S. soccer better than most people who think they know U.S. soccer well. Like, that man has been around. He's been around the world. And what's the term? Been around the world twice, talked to everyone once. That dude's done it. Like
Mhm.
he's done it. Like he knows U.S. soccer like the back of his hand. I think he's going to do quite fine. And I do see this as do we know how old Bob is at this point,
I
Mr.
think
Bradley?
he's 64.
So how many years do we give him as a GM/manager before he just becomes the GM?
He is 63. He is
Okay.
going to be the manager of the club until Michael Bradley retires and Michael takes over as head coach. And then
I don't know if I like that one.
It's a family affair up in Toronto.
Coaching badges first. Get the coaching badges, and I'm cool with it. But
you don't know what Michael's doing in the off season.
In the off season, well, that's fair. That's fair. You know, I get your little your 7-a-side license that I have and call it a day. So I'm all for it. I mean, like you said, worst kept secret. We all kind of knew this was going to happen, and I like it. I think that Toronto's become a big enough name in MLS that a few years, well, not a few years ago, 10 years ago, you would not have been like, one of the best coaches in MLS should be going to Toronto. But now you're like, of course, like one of the best coaches in MLS should be going to Toronto, should want that job because it's a desirable job. And it is. And he's about to really take over what will, I'm sure, become a blank slate pretty soon.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be, right? I mean, I want to kind of go off that point of, right, a decade ago, you would not have talked about Toronto as a potential landing spot. That's a fantastic point. And I think you have to give a lot of credit to Greg Vanny, to
Shout out Greg Vanny,
on both of them really developing Toronto into a powerhouse, into a notable brand within Major League Soccer, even though 2021 didn't go, I think, the way they were hoping for it. But with all of this is really going to be an interesting off season, right? You open up a DP spot because Josie Altidore is reportedly out at Toronto. I mean, we knew this all, I feel like, kind of towards the middle of the season when we chatted about Josie a little bit. Soteldo, we don't really know his long-term future at the club. So if he decides to go back down to South America, or I guess wherever else he's going to go, that could be 2 potential open DP spots with Pizzuelo sitting there. And we know what Pizzuelo can do in Major League Soccer, right? So I don't want to dive too deep on this right now. I feel like this is really going to be more of a conversation come the off season. But all I want to say is this off season for Toronto and what Bob can do in year 1 is going to be very, very interesting. I'm excited to see it. And if I'm a Toronto FC fan, I'm absolutely pumped right now.
Oh, yeah. This is going to be a big bounce back for Toronto. I mean, what were they, second to last, third to last in the East? Like, this is going to be the Bob Bradley bump, as I will now call it, is going to be big. I think he's gonna. I bet you he holds on to Soteldo. I bet he does because he wants to go to Brazil.
He's got to convince him.
I mean, he made a number of South American players, top-notch MLS players who can move on to Europe easily. If there's one man to do it, it's Bob Bradley.
Look,
why wouldn't you want that?
That's also Soteldo had 10 assists last year. Like that's not
He's
great
great
by any means, and pair him along with, it's so interesting. When I was putting together all the stuff that I posted on Twitter and Instagram for Bob Bradley going to Toronto, Bob Bradley's
a big list.
It's a very long list, but Bob Bradley is a 3-time MLS Coach of the Year. He's won that award 3 times. The league's 26 years old. I'm not mistaken with that number.
Yes, that's right.
So whatever, even if it's a year or 2 off, that means Bob Bradley has won that award almost 12% of the entire league's history. Like
that's impressive.
And he wasn't in the league for a good chunk of it too. So that just shows you, I think, what Bob Bradley can immediately bring to a club, the success he can bring. He's won trophies. Obviously, he knows how to develop the average American player or get the best out of the average American player, bring in big names around it, and that's really it, right? So, yes, I don't think he's going to get Carlos Vela out or up in Toronto, but I think he'll have just as good talent, But
we have a bit of a guest all of a sudden. I'm sorry.
Oh, hello,
Carter. Say hi.
Hi, Carter.
Say hi to everyone on YouTube.
Say hi.
Someone woke up apparently.
It's all good. It's all good. We have our first baby Aces appearance.
Yeah, a little baby Ace. She's a little up. All right, you come here. You're all right. Okay.
All good. You want me to continue? You good?
Please continue. Yeah,
Oh,
she
okay.
can't hear anything anyway.
The next piece that I wanted to dive into is the Chicago Fire, right? Bob Bradley's taken a vacancy head coaching spot up in Toronto. We have a brand new manager, I guess a brand new MLS manager going to Chicago, and Ezra Hendrickson. He's being hired after being a longtime assistant manager in Major League Soccer. He's been a decade as an assistant manager in MLS underneath the likes of Siggy Schmidt, Brian Schmetzer, Dom Kinnear, and Caleb Porter. Just some of the best managers in
Literally
MLS
the
history.
best managers in MLS. Other than Bob, like that's the list you want.
I mean, pretty much, right? That's good. He also had a little bit of time managing Sounders 2 or Tacoma Defiance, whatever you want to call them now. During his time in Seattle, 93 games managed at the USL Championship level, 32 wins, 15 draws, 46 losses during his time as manager of the Tacoma Defiance, or what's currently known as the Tacoma Defiance.
But Tacoma Defiance for now.
Exactly. Ezra Hendrickson, I absolutely love this move. I had to kind of talk a little bit of shit to Jason on Twitter today, saying that I love it. I think it could go swimmingly, but when you have the history of Veljko Panovic and Rafael Vicky as your last two managerial hires, I'm sure Chicago Fire fans are a little skeptical of the move of Ezra Hendrickson, but he's learned from some of the best. He's been around for a while. He's been a player in this league. You have to think he's familiar with the rules, right? At least if we're getting the minimum in that.
Right. Yeah.
So, I mean, when you saw the Hendrickson news, were you as optimistic as I feel like some Fire fans are, or a little bit more hesitant kind of what
no, I actually really like this signing. And the first thing I did was I looked at it on Twitter and went, like the Leonardo DiCaprio meme where it's like, I know you. Why do I know you? You're so familiar to me. And then it clicked like how he's been an assistant for so long, and I was like, yep, this guy. And like we just said, like he's been under some of the best managers in MLS, and I see no reason. Much like who's managing in Montreal?
Wilfred Nancy.
Like we said, literally at this time last year about him taking over, like, yeah, this is right. This is an assistant coach who deserves this chance, who I think will do well. And look, 1 year in with him, what Montreal's doing, I think that Chicago might have a sneaky good head coach here.
I don't think every assistant manager going to the head coach level works, right? Obviously, we've seen the Nancy's of the world, but then I think we've also seen the Chris Armises of the world.
That man shouldn't be a coach.
I think maybe I'm trying to think of more off the top of my head, but I think he's probably the most notable.
He's the most notable bad one.
Yeah, exactly. But really, I really want Ezra Hendrickson to succeed. One, because I think the Chicago Fire, this new rebrand, the newer ownership group, right? I really want it all to just kind of go well, because Chicago should be a big brand, big city,
it should be
within this
it
league,
needs
right?
to be.
It should be, but it hasn't been. And I think the success on the field, the constant roster turnover, all that stuff is just consistently hurting the club. But maybe you keep Ezra, you give him 3-4 years, and you just let him kind of have his experiment with it, and you pray it works, right? Again,
but you actually got to give him that time.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. You gave Panovic, I actually looked up, they gave him 4 seasons, which is a lot longer than what I remembered. And then Vicky, they gave him 2, but I understand that. But I just want to see some, I don't know, some idea, some plan. And I think Vicky had his plans, but it was more off the field, and then on the field, he didn't really see it. I just want to see Ezra Hendrickson work. I just want to see it be successful, because, the guy's had his dues within the league, and he deserves his head coaching spot. And we'll see if he keeps it, right? At the end of the day, it's all about the success, the wins and losses. I'm on the field, and you can really do pretty much a lot off the field and not have your job hurt. But I guess, is there anything else about the Fire or the Hendrickson hire you want to talk about before we dive into some of these playoff games?
No, I'm pretty good.
Got it. Okay. So let's dive into the MLS Cup playoffs. We had the first round of playoff games, and it was almost an entire sweep from home teams in the opening round. And I think that a lot of people are going to be happy with the one home team that lost. That home team is not happy, but we will dive into that. Let's start chronologically, or I guess continue chronologically with the games. And let's start with the number 2 seeded Philadelphia Union versus the number 7 seeded New York Red Bulls. Dupe win 1-0. And it was maybe not the easy clean sweep that the four of us predicted, you, me, Vaughn, and Jason. It had to take the latest goal in MLS history, and it was a golazo in its
That's
own
pretty
right.
impressive. Yeah,
to push the Union to a win over the New York Red Bulls. Jakub Glesnes with his golazo, because all Glesnes does is just hit bangers, apparently, for the Philadelphia Union.
yeah.
I guess first off, let's start with the goal, because we have to start with the banger.
It was impressive.
I mean, that was a sick goal.
Yeah, I mean, like, look, he hit it. He did. And I don't know, maybe that's the best way for me to put it is he hit it, and I'm watching this replay going, there's no, it's in. Oh, wow. Holy crap. Just, it was impressive. And I mean, I really thought, like, I think all of us thought that Philly was going to control this game. They were going to win 2-3-0, maybe give up one Red Bulls goal. I didn't expect Red Bulls to really hold their own defensively the way they did. You know, and it's, I don't know. The goal alone was amazing, but like it is a little worrisome for Philly that they needed that to beat the Red Bulls.
Yeah, I will say I think I gave the Red Bulls a little bit more of a chance, just because I think the youth pressing for 90 minutes was going to be tough. But when you're pressing for 123 minutes, I think that's a little tough on legs, even if they are teenager legs. But look, Philly squandered a lot of chances in this one.
Yep.
A lot of misses. I can immediately off the top of my head think of that big Corey Burke miss late in this one. And I think Sergio Santos had a miss for himself as well. But this was Philly's game to lose. At the end of the day, the Red Bulls weren't generating much offensively. They were holding strong defensively. I think it seemed like they were just pushing for PKs late, and Glesnes just absolutely smacked one. But I am worried about the Union moving forward. We'll talk about, those games next, but the Union are moving forward to take on Nashville away in Nashville, a Nashville team that won big. And again, we'll talk about that game in a second. But I'm worried that the Union are just going to fizzle out in the playoffs again, because it just seems like it's absolutely lined up for it.
Yeah, it's I don't know. We'll talk about a game against Nashville. It's like that. It's not easy. It's not an easy game to go to Nashville, especially on a side that just played 123 minutes because they just couldn't get it over the line against a Red Bulls team. So I don't know.
No, exactly. And I mean, I'm not the biggest, I guess, XG or XA or expected goals allowed kind of guy.
Not a big analyst.
I mean, I like to just see how players kind of shake it out on the field, and I'm sure that relates to XG and all that crap. I'm not the biggest tracker of it, right?
Yeah.
But I think a few names that I mentioned, right? Sergio Santos, Corey Burke, and I think Kasper Subilko all had a 0.49 or greater XG in this game, which, from what people who are analysts tell me, that's really good. That's 3 really players, good. And they scored 1 goal off of a late kind of just banger that happened. So
tells me a lot more about Red Bulls than
I know, right? Wow. I feel for Carlos Coronel. I don't know if you saw after the goal allowed, your goalkeeper of the year, Sam. He just absolutely sat down. He sat down on the line and so depressed. So depressed.
To be fair, there was nothing he was going to do about that. That's the thing.
You're not saving that.
So yeah, you just kind of have to accept that, and I would just sit there and be like, fuck.
Yeah, no, exactly.
I don't know.
Look, this Red Bulls team had a great showing. I think, when Vaughn and I were talking about them last week, we may have underestimated them a little bit, but at the end of the day, I think just wasn't enough offensively, and the Union do squeak on by, or dupe on by,
Dupe on by.
Was there any other players or anything about this game you wanted to talk about before we touch on our first Western Conference game?
No, I'm ready to trek west. Trek
Number
west if you are.
3, Sporting Kansas City versus number 6, Vancouver Whitecaps. The game that Vaughn and I picked last week to be the absolute upset. And,
Right.
the Whitecaps just kind of moving forward with that magical run. Look, SKC was on port form. The Whitecaps were playing with house money, interim manager, love and life. He's Italian, Bajorno, fucking just going. Yeah, but
as much Italian fingers as you can throw in there.
all good things come to an end, right? SKC, they handled business at home, 3-1 in the playoffs. An absolute impressive showing from Graham Zusi as the first thing that I want to mention. His own golazo.
My God.
And then assist
that was a goal.
Skated through everyone.
Yeah.
Graham Zusi put on a show, put on some vintage Graham Zusi, I guess, esque perforance in this one. And
how old is Graham Zusi now? Like 38?
He's 30. He's 50. I don't really know.
Hang on. I got this.
Oh, it's just it was Graham Zusi is 35. Wow.
Yeah, so 40. I don't know. Like, fuck.
He's a 35-year-old. He
looks fantastic. I mean, I don't know how many more years he's gonna have left in this league, but man, did he look really good. So maybe he'll have like 5 more years left at the rate he's going.
If he could DeMarcus Beasley it out,
That's a good point. Especially like right back.
Just kind of keep like average performances during the season and come alive in the playoffs. That's it.
Fair enough. Especially SKC, like, I mean, as a team, they're like built up pretty well, like defensively.
Yeah.
And Graham Zusi, like at that point, yeah, you know what? Fair enough. I can see this happening. I'm okay with this. I hope Vaughn's okay with this because I'm cool with him playing to 40. So,
well, I mean, especially in a league that isn't really known for its fullbacks, right? I think we're getting better.
You're right.
I think we're getting much better in the fullbacks category.
Better, but the best fullback to ever come out of MLS was a left winger when he left. So I don't know.
Hey, we got Kai Wagner now. I'm
fair.
I like him a lot. But let's stick defensively with SKC in this one. And Nicholas Matt Marine, a dude who I guess missed a good chunk of SKC's season. And I think when he was playing initially was a major force on SKC's backline. Again, missed a good chunk. He comes back. I think he's kind of getting slowly back into it. And in this game, did a great job defensively overall, handling a hot Brian White, which is weird to say, but it's true.
Never thought you'd say that one, dude.
And then, putting in a goal of his own. I have to give a lot of credit to Izzy Matt Marine, one, but then just kind of this entire defensive unit, too, just because they didn't come into this one looking good, but they stood up to it.
It says a lot about a team that can come in out of form like that. But, they got to play at home in front of the Cauldron, and that's really helpful. But, even in front of your home fans, like, you have to be smart. You have to be solid at the back to win.
Yeah.
In the playoffs, because in the playoffs, nothing really matters. Like, it doesn't matter about anything else, but just kind of who shows up. And they showed up, and they looked really good. So yeah, no, I totally agree with you.
And the next point I'm about to make is a point I'll make again in a game a little bit later on. But when you're in must-win games, a single elimination games, you're in the MLS Cup Playoffs where the craziest shit can happen. You need your MVP of your team, your I guess during the season, your MVP candidate to show up. And Daniel Shalhoub did that for SKC. 2 assists on this game. He did what he was doing all season long and setting up everyone else to just do better, right? Be better. And I know one of his assists went to Shelton. I don't think he had the assist on the Izzy Matt. No, he did have the assist on the Izzy Matt Marine goal, but he played out of his mind. And I think if SKC can get this type of performance from Shalhoub the entire postseason, they're in every single game they play. 100%. They have to be considered a team to win MLS Cup.
Yeah, I mean, there was a reason that at one point a couple of weeks ago we were all saying that he was one of top 3 candidates for MVP. Like he was really good, and I mean, a little dip at the end of the season, but it sounds like that was the whole SKC team. So I don't know. I think you're absolutely right. When it comes to that single elimination, you need your MVP candidate. and every team had one. Maybe not the Red Bulls, but every other team had one. And so I guess their goalkeeper. Yeah, whatever.
I think there's a few teams missing an MVP candidate.
Right, and so they're not going to win unless you're Seattle, who have like 4, and you said whatever. It's
and
fine.
You bench 3 of them.
It's fine. I'm sure it worked out fine for them. Right? We'll get there later. But you know what? Shout out to Vancouver too. I mean, I know that I'm going to beat you to that punch, but like seriously, like we were not expecting them to be a playoff team, and they really hit their stride when they got Ryan Gaulden, especially. At the midway point of the season, he was a really big pickup, and then Brian White was a massive get for them. Like I think you had posted the other day, like who saw that Brian White to Vancouver was going to be one of the trades of the season? I didn't. Like they really figured it out.
It's incredible. Also, how do I want to say it? Like just I guess how a managerial change can also switch things up for a club, right? Vanni Sartini, I'm pretty sure that's how you say his name. Absolutely unlocked Brian White, unlocked everything. Ryan Gauld maybe coming in also, like you said, was a major influence as well. And LAFC fans definitely let me know that he did not deserve the Newcomer of the Year award, but whatever. That was
yes,
Twitter.
He did. I disagree.
Twitter killing me this week. Yeah, I mean, look, one team made the playoffs off of a player's solid performance. The other team failed to make the playoffs off a very good player, solid performance. I like Arango. Arango did great. But Ryan Gauld, whatever. But that's whatever.
Right. Whatever. It's whatever. It's Twitter. Who cares?
It's Twitter. I'm gonna post something stupid anyway. But Sartini absolutely changed things around after Marc Dos Santos got fired midway through the season, and pushing the Whitecaps from where they were to this point of the season. I don't think anyone expected. And I have to give him a shit ton of credit, and the dude deserves the head coaching job. If we want to talk about assistant managers getting head coaching jobs, Sartini deserves it. So I would love to see a little bit more in next season in Vancouver. That's all I want to see next year.
Just a
little next,
Yes, that's what I'm talking about. I'm hip. Let's do it.
Let's go from Kansas City to good old Yankee Stadium, where NYCFC, they did handle their business as well. They hit a 2-run shot against Atlanta United. Even though the Braves won the World Series, NYCFC is winning soccer games in a baseball stadium.
Is this your first? Is this your first playoff win?
No, we've won. We crash out later on.
Okay, all right. I tend to forget. Okay, that's fine.
The depression of being an NYCFC fan in the playoffs.
I get it.
NYCFC fan in the playoffs will come. Ronald Matarrita against Toronto, Schlegel. I think Toronto absolutely killing us. So it'll come. Don't worry.
I kind of forget. I forgot about the wins. I'm sorry, but I was like sitting there going like, no, like this can't be the first one. But hey, taking on an Atlanta team with an assistant manager, head coach, like that's. At this point, we're hyping them up. So, like, hey, nice win.
No, and look, I mean, an Atlanta team that did come in having a hot Yosef. Barco was playing well. Luis Araujo.
Barco had a good season.
Was playing well as well, right? A lot of good players on this Atlanta United team. Miles Robinson, George Bello, Brooks Lennon. We can talk about them all, right? But that's for 2022 to talk about, because we had a weird ass game for NYCFC to win. I do have to give a lot of credit to Vaughn. Vaughn pointed this out last week, where Atlanta like to spread the field. Atlanta like to play wide and really kind of get numbers forward in that way. The short field or the slim field of NYCFC kind of negates that a little bit. So
it's a significant point. Vaughn was right.
Vaughn made a very good point, but good thing we will not be at home for the rest of the playoffs unless for some reason
that's good for you.
Unless RSL make the finals and then we make the finals, then that would be the only way.
RSL, NYCFC, MLS Cup.
At Yankee
I
Stadium.
can see it now, like no one cares. Except for Tom.
Except for me and Yankee fans everywhere. The Mormons.
And the Mormons.
This was a weird one, right? So the scoring opened up with a very weird play from Brad Guzan, where Tati Castellanos hits this ball, it bounces, and it just like, I mean, Guzan just had to misreading that, right? Like he just had to have been like, oh,
Guzan
that's going
playing
over the
like,
bar.
yeah. Guzan doing his best like Rob Green impression from like the 2010 World Cup, just like, oh, I got this. Oh shit.
Yeah,
like just whatever.
He's just like, oh, that's in the net. Like, it's the weirdest. It was the weirdest play, but
Also,
you know
like
what?
I've been there, like in goal, like you see it and you're like, there's no way that's gonna oh no. Like,
There's
and
no way this
it
goes
takes
in.
that dip. Like I've definitely been there and like I get it.
Yeah.
But he's a lot better than I am. And so it is shocking that
Look,
he wouldn't like go for it.
maybe a 7-year-old Brad Guzan starting to lose it a little bit, just a little bit.
Maybe a little bit, but you know,
but
baldy.
the poor set piece defending in this one from Atlanta was evident, was clear the entire game, but really sealed their fate when Alexander Kynes, who wasn't supposed to play at this one, came back from injury, I think early to play, comes up with a goal off a corner and seals the game 2-0. But
Can't
just
say no
for
to that.
me, as you know, an NYCFC fan, personally, and obviously I have the jersey from this year and all of that. The performances that we saw in this one from Malte Amundsen, Tavon Gray. Well, first of all, Tavon Gray is playing a emergency right wing back for us for like the rest of the season because Anton Tinnerholm obviously has been out for half a season, doing a phenomenal job. And James Sands just being such a versatile player to step in at center back, D mid, central mid, wherever you need to play him. Those three really stepped up huge for us in this game. And I think if we can kind of have that core doing well defensively for us, then you just kind of let Maxi and Tati eat. And maybe there's an upset of the Revs coming. But we'll talk about that game. We'll talk about that game. I don't know if you're going to agree with me there, but yeah, it was a good day to be an NYCFC fan. That's all I have to say.
No, hey, a playoff win feels fantastic. So hell yeah.
Right? Exactly. I mean, look,
I don't know what that's like anymore, but I bet it's good.
You know what the playoffs is like?
The Spirit won, so I'm happy. But like, you know, United, it's been a while since we've won in the playoffs for United. So
it's been a while, yeah. It's been a while since you've made the playoffs, won it, all that, you know.
Yep.
But
Nick DeLeon. That was the last
let's go out to Portland, Oregon, where Jason, he's not on the podcast, so clearly he's still out there celebrating. You know, I mean, he's still having a great time. Where the Timbers, you know, I'm not reading the line that I wrote in the notes because
it's pretty good.
No,
I can try one.
You go for
it. Minnesota loses. For some reason, still hype. They got a U.S. men's national team game. Ta-da!
Yeah, you're not wrong. Minnesota loses 3-1, just to be exact for the listeners. I think we're touching on some poor goalkeeper performances. I want to touch on a really good one in Steve Clark in this game, where you never know what you're going to get from Steve Clark. But 5 saves, only allowing the 1 goal. Again, going back to stats, the expected goals allowed were close to 2 in this one. So Steve Clark put in a show, and you know, Minnesota was getting on the offensive end of things. It wasn't like they weren't in this one. So I had to give Steve Clark his credit for sure.
I love Steve Clark. Like, he's been around the league, and it makes me really happy that he found a home again in Portland, because he went from like Columbus, he was in DC, he was in Europe for a little while in like Denmark, I think, and like to really find a home in Portland, a team that really is supporting him with a good defense in front. Like, I'm really happy to see him do as well as he is, because I mean, he's, you know, mid-30s, but he's putting in performances of a top-tier candidate, like Save of the Year last year, I think, or the year before. Like, he's very, very good.
Look, the good, it's either with Steve Clark, I just feel like it's either he's making 18 saves and 1 goal allowed, or everything's going in. And I love Steve Clark, and I think he's just out of his mind madman, and he's what MLS needs. So thank you, Steve Clark, and a great showing against Minnesota in this
Mm-hmm.
one. Also, I mean, it also does help when you have a very good defender in front of you. Not that I am going to sit here and say Larry's Mabiala is a very good defender. Again, game in and game out. Guys getting on a little bit of the older side, especially playing center back. But the goal, one that he scored, was fantastic. And then defensively, too, just what he was able to kind of just provide to this Timbers back line, where their biggest question mark is center backs, right? You are going to need strong center back showings for the Timbers to be any type of MLS Cup contender.
Yeah.
And Mabiala did it game one, so I got to give him the credit there.
Yeah. No, I think you're right. And, he'll do, I don't know. I feel like the playoffs bring out really the best in a lot of players.
Yeah.
And if you're a big game player, I feel like the playoffs is where you're going to really hit your stride. So maybe he will. I mean, Timbers are known for these playoff style runs that really hit the right foot. So I don't know. I can't own up to watching a lot of Timbers games this year, so I don't know. I haven't watched him in depth, but yeah, I can see that really, being a make or break point for them.
No, and I mean, look, I completely agree with you. And I think you saying your best players or the best player showing up is a completely true point, right? Because last week on this podcast, I sat down and I was, kind of arguing with Vaughn that Sebastian Blanco is no longer a game winner in MLS. Sebastian Blanco, injury prone, getting old, whatever it may be. And the dude comes out and hits a brace and pretty much was the best player on the field for the Portland Timbers, right? So, foot in mouth on that one. So Seba Blanco obviously still has it. I still think he's injury prone. I still think he's getting up there a little bit, but clearly when the dude's on the field, he's an absolute, game impact, game changer. So I foot in mouth on that. So I don't really want to harp too much on that. This was just a really good win for the Timbers at home. Again, I think home field advantage playing a lot into this one. We'll see how they fare away from home. Maybe some of the weaknesses that I pointed out last week and maybe some of the age factors that I continuously want to harp on with this team will get drawn out on the road. But I guess the only major point that I wanted to bring up for Minnesota is, one, Minnesota really didn't play that bad. I think the scoreline is a little bit worse than the actual performance on the field. And for those of you kind of who don't watch the games or watch the highlights or anything like that, watch them, because the scoreline doesn't always dictate how players actually play. So
absolutely.
Definitely want to point that out. But two, Tyler Miller, who was one of the better goalkeepers in the league this year. Sam, I know you're not the biggest believer in Tyler Miller sometimes, but
Dane St. Clair is pretty amazing sometimes. But that dynamic between him and Tyler Miller, it is really interesting. And Minnesota is very lucky.
Good relationship. It has to be, because there's no way that Tyler Miller can win back a starting job and them be cool. They have to have some type of very good relationship.
Yeah, it's really awesome how well they work together, and to have both of them on one team, Minnesota's really lucky, and I hope they realize that if they lose one of them in an expansion draft, I might say, that would be tough. So
we'll get into the expansion draft combo soon, because Vaughn, again, another amazing point out from Vaughn. Expansion draft's only 3 days after MLS Cup.
It's nuts, isn't it?
It is going to be a quick turnaround. Thankfully, Minnesota has some time to pick their 11 players to protect. Yeah. Dane St. Clair might be an automatic protection. He might be a Generation Adidas player, but
I don't know how all that goes.
We'll dive a little bit. Dive a little bit into that deeper.
I have to do some Googling.
Exactly. But Minnesota definitely played well. Tyler Miller was out in this one. I think he was a close contact for COVID-19, or he was diagnosed with COVID, something like that. He was out, which you never want to see your starting keeper who's had a very good season, out. But Dane St. Clair is a very good backup in his own right. Didn't play bad, but I just think maybe Tyler Miller would have been a little bit more of a veteran edge, but whatever. At the end of the day, Minnesota's out. Portland moving on.
Yep.
Okay. The final two games of the first round of the playoffs: Nashville SC at home taking on Orlando City SC, the Southern derby. I don't know what the fuck. There's apparently some rivalry here, and there's some name
between Nashville and Orlando. That's weird.
It's the South, right?
They're not that close though. Like they're really not that close.
I don't know, man. But whatever. Finally,
whatever. Screw it.
Nashville doesn't draw at home. They finally pick up a win at home, and they are moving on in the MLS Cup Playoffs. And kind of the point that I brought up before about Daniel Shalhoub, MVP people doing MVP type shit in MVP needed games. Hani Mukhtar is that man. I don't care what Hani Mukhtar's XG is, his XA, his XG plus A. I don't give a shit about any of that. When Hani Mukhtar steps over the ball twice and is carrying the entire Orlando City in his back pocket, and then he hits it past Pedro Gallese, Hani Mukhtar is the goddamn MVP of everything after that. I don't care. I don't care. The dude's a baller.
That's
it.
Okay. No, and that's the tweet. That's it. That's the tweet. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I won't get into like a super big rant about stats here or anything, because I'm that stats guy and you aren't apparently. But yeah, Hani Mukhtar stepped up when he needed to, and ball don't lie, I think is the correct term for that, man.
Yeah.
Man hit 2 very well shots, and look, he did it when he needed to, and I think we all agreed. I think actually I was a Hani Mukhtar stan for MVP a couple weeks back before the end of the season, and so yeah, I think that all makes sense. And I think Nashville's a really good team with a really good defense and some very good star front players that when they do step up and play well, make Nashville really dangerous. So, he showed that he can do it. I hope that the rest of the team can also do that next week too.
I will say this. I have not always been against stats and statistics to prove points. I think that they have their place. I just, as the weeks have gone on this MLS season, I'm just more like, I'm sitting down, who the hell's making an impact? And I'm sure that'll show up in a stat, or I'm hoping it'll show up in a stat, because if it doesn't, it's wrong. That's my personal opinion. But yes, to what you said,
this will be an off-season conversation. I think.
An argument between XG and what my eyes are telling me.
Yeah,
and it's
exactly.
probably the same thing.
We'll do that. That's fine.
But no, like you said, Nashville SC, really good team. I think a really defensively stout team. And when you have Hani Mukhtar absolutely balling out, when you have Walker Zimmerman, for the most part, locking down, the premier player offensively on the other side of it, and you have kind of all your role players throughout that really just doing their job and doing it well. Yep. Nashville SC is dangerous, and I think as long as Hani Mukhtar is putting out shows like this where he's either hitting bangers or he's creating for someone else to do well, you have to think Nashville SC, again, in a Sporting Kansas City type of mind frame for me right now, can win MLS Cup, and they have to be one of the, I think, I think they're one of the 3 major teams right now that I am saying can win it all easily.
Yeah. No, I think Nashville's probably one of the better teams who's built for the playoffs. Because you have to be able to. That's fine. You don't have to play exciting soccer to win the playoffs. You have to play defensively sound soccer and put the ball in the net one time. That's all you have to do to win the playoffs.
It's easy.
And look, in Nashville, I think they're very well coached. Joe Willis is a very good goalkeeper. Hani Mukhtar can score goals at will, apparently. And and look, I think that they've got it kind of figured. Maybe not. Obviously, they don't have it figured out, or they would have won the Supporters Shield and hadn't lost a game. But I think they've kind of figured out the right way for them to play, and I think that's the key. And I hope to see them really move far in MLS playoffs. I think that a really good team in Nashville is good for the league for one thing, but they can be fun to watch on the counter, and I like that.
They're fun to watch. When Hani's scoring the goals, they're fun to watch. But when the team's system is setting up for CJ Sapong or Randall Leal to score the goals, it's not fun. It's not.
Yeah, fair enough. Fair enough.
No, I think Nashville's really good for the league. I just don't think, again, the league, they're interested in their LAs. They're, for some reason, New York still, don't know why.
And for some reason, Chicago still.
Miami, Chicago, right? They're not interested in Nashville.
The
But
big cities.
Nashville's here. Nashville is easily one of the best teams in the league.
Nashville's an up-and-coming city with a lot of people who like to get hammered and go to games. So
that's it.
I support it.
Shout out Travis. But the one thing that I want to just quickly mention on Orlando City side of things is I think, DK scoring early was great, right? They took advantage of, I think, the wrong person defending DK on a set piece. I think it was Lovitz. I think it was Lovitz who was defending DK and not Zimmerman, right? I think DK might have just got away from Zimmerman, whatever. But him scoring early, I was like, okay, Orlando City, they're about to show up. But, I think, again, Hani shut that down. But this is a point I want to talk about later on, getting into the offseason as well. But this might have been Daryl DK's last game in an Orlando City jersey. We said that midpoint when he wasn't going to come back from the loan, but he did, whatever it may be. But this might have been his final performance. And, I think a goal to end things off is the right way for a Lions legend to go out, if it is. So definitely just want to make that point for DK there.
I really he played a good game, and that goal was it's a nice header. I don't think that Joe Willis saw it coming, honestly.
No, not at all.
And not just it might be his last game. It's guaranteed Chris Mueller's last game. He's gone, so they're about to be losing some serious offensive power and if nothing else, offensive depth. And so Orlando's gonna have to retool for next season pretty well.
Orlando City has one of their draft picks right now who was the leading goal scorer in Turkey last year and who's starting for a Champions League team. They have another one of their draft picks who is heading to Hibs and will be playing, European minutes in the Scottish Premier League. And they have another one of their draft picks, which they are holding for ransom. And the two previous draft picks have made them $0. So Orlando City, maybe learn a little business-wise and sell. Get some money, develop, and then you do well again. But whatever, I'm just saying.
But we have Nani.
We have a 35-year-old Nani who disappears.
It's fine, guys. It's fine.
Every year.
Yeah, no, it's fine. Yeah, and they had Breck Shea.
Yeah, watch out. You had Breck Shea. Kaká was on the team. Did you know that?
Yeah, I heard about that. That was probably pretty good.
Let's go to the final game of the first round. The number 2 seeded Seattle Sounders, the number 7 seeded Real Salt Lake. Before I say who won this game, if you're listening, you know who won, right? But just for maybe the small 1% out there who doesn't know, I want to read some stats. Just want to quickly read.
This has become such a meme too.
Even if you don't know soccer in any type of capacity, please tell me who won this game. Seattle had 62% possession of the ball. Seattle had 21 shots in total. RSL had 0 shots on. I think 0 shots in total and 0 shots on target. Obviously, and that's
they didn't. Yeah,
and RSL won the game. They won the game with 0 shots, and it is what the MLS Cup Playoffs is absolute mayhem, and I love it. And I know a lot of MLS fans out there are happy that it won't be Seattle or Toronto in a final again. That's all I have to say too.
It's been a while.
I mean, it's crazy that I don't know how this conversation is going to lead into a Seattle conversation because we've been talking about all the winners. Sorry, RSL, but we got to talk about Seattle real quick. Brian Schmetzer has been in 4 of the last finals with the Seattle Sounders. That's insane. And the fact that this team
it's time to fire him, I guess.
He sucks.
Can't do it anymore.
He's not great. But the fact
one of
that
the best coaches of all time
came out and lost in the first round to this RSL team that squeaked in is just insane to me. Do I think Schmetzer actually got some of his tactic stuff wrong? Yes, but
absolutely.
He also had injuries at play, and I'm not going to fault him for that or anything like that. But I guess just the immediate shock, because I was not staying up all night for this game because I live on the East Coast.
I get that.
when I woke up, I was in shock. When you, I guess, I'm assuming you woke up, right? You saw the scoreline, all that.
Yep.
What was your, I guess, immediate reaction right away?
Actually, and this is probably really funny. I thought this is kind of really bad karma because Seattle's first MLS Cup when they had 0 shots on target the entire game and still won on PKs, and I went, oh, that's really bad karma. But the more I think that was really my first thoughts. But overall now it's just like, oh my god, this is just like, it's hard because you literally put in a fantastic performance and you couldn't hit the net once. Oh my god. I don't know. Like I'm no coach, so I can't really tell you except for 7-a-side. Remember we talked about that earlier.
Yeah, you have the license, bro.
So I have my 7-on-7 license. But I don't know what you're gonna tell a team after that. Like, hey, I'm really happy that you had the ball more and you shot more, but you just couldn't score. And then what do you say as RSL? You're like, wow, guys, we played like shit and we won. We're gonna win MLS Cup because we can play like shit every game and win.
No,
I don't know.
I think in a realistic term, right? You're Schmetzer. You walk into the locker room. You just have to be in the mindset like it wasn't meant to be. Like guys, like you put in every effort you could. It just wasn't meant to be.
Yeah.
And if you're Mascheroni and you're walking into the RSL locker room, you just have to be like, let's fucking go. Like, let's just ride this.
Just hyped.
That's it. Hyped. Like, you just scream. Yep. You don't even need to say anything. Just walk in screaming and like, let's go. And then you're good. Like that's all you got to do. And pretty much.
Bring out the champagne for your PK victory.
Some type of probably very niche IPA out there in Salt Lake City that they're just
no. It's this might come as a shock to you, but as a Mormon led state. No offense to people in Utah. The highest alcohol content you can have in a beer in Utah is 3.6%. So there's no fancy IPAs.
So you're getting some 3.6% beer and you're just spraying them everywhere.
Get ready, just like, let's go.
It's gonna take a shit ton of these to get drunk. Let's go.
Yep, let's have them.
The last point I want to make about Seattle before we actually deservedly give RSL their credit.
Yes.
So, again, if you don't know, you didn't know, whatever, Nico Ladero and Raul Ruiz-Diaz did not play in Seattle's decision day game due to injury concerns. He wanted to, Schmetzer obviously wanted to keep him out for the I guess, what would be the first round game of the playoffs. So when the injury report came out, a lot of Seattle reporters I was reading on Twitter said, oh, no Nico Ladero's on it. No Raul Ruiz-Diaz is on it. They must be healthy. They asked Schmetzer in press conferences. They're perfectly healthy. The starting 11 comes out for this game. You have Nico Ladero on the bench. You have Raul Ruiz-Diaz on the bench, 2 of the best players in this league. And you have Alex Roldan on the bench, who was arguably one of the best wingbacks, wingers, whatever you want to say. Very good breakout year, right? Or I guess maybe last year was the breakout, whatever. But you have all 3 of those players on the bench. And I guess it's just a big question mark of why were they on the bench? Were they actually injured? Were they still sore and you wanted to have them come off the bench in a second half to impact the game late and save them for the next game? Were you looking past RSL? And all of that led to not a ton of minutes for all of them combined on the field at once. I mean, obviously they went into extra time, so there was a few extra minutes added to their legs, but this Seattle team just didn't have everyone from the jump. And at the end of the day, I think it kind of bit Schmetzer and the Sounders in the ass.
Yeah, and that's just one of those kind of game time decisions where you go, I think we can do this without you guys. Rest you up because the next game's got to be harder.
Yeah.
And look, if he had done that and they had won, we'd all be like, they'll be totally fine. Like, next round, get ready, more rest. But because they lost, it looks really bad. And it's one of those decisions where you just kind of go, this is going to go either really well or really poorly. I really hope it goes well for me. And it just didn't. And I don't think we can blame Schmetzer for that, for guys who are coming off injury and international break. Like, Alex Rodon, is playing every game for El Salvador, scoring goals. Like, he's probably pretty burnt out and could have used a day off. A playoff game against RSL would have been the game to do it when you can confidently say that our team's going to get through. which I would have said for Seattle beforehand. So I don't really blame Schmetzer for that. He just, made a call and it happened to be wrong this time. I wouldn't call it a bad call.
Yeah, I think he maybe put his chips on some of his bench guys, right? Like a Freddie Montero, a Kellen Rowe, whoever else you want to name, right? And I think it just, sometimes the gambles don't work out, and you're stuck with your tail between your leg. Or that's not the right phrase. You're stuck with something not where it should be, and bad things happen. And I think that's pretty much it.
Happens to the best of us.
But I want to give RSL their credit. Definitely the mindset and the play tactics of bend, do not break, and they did not break. I think that between the performance that we saw from Marcelo Silva and Aaron Herrera on the back line, Aaron Herrera was fantastic last night. I know we consistently hear his rumors of potentially going to Europe and the Serie A is interested in whatever.
Mm-hmm.
I think Aaron Herrera has shown that. I mean, look, in a 3-man center back pairing, he has been a very good third center back, and obviously he can play right back in his own right, which is what his natural position. But Aaron Herrera really showed so much last night, and then obviously a veteran center back next to him, Marcelo Silva, had a great game, and they didn't bend. David Ochoa, everyone hates him on the internet nowadays, and he's talking shit and whatever.
U.S. men's national team stands on Twitter hate him. I freaking love that guy. I don't care.
Look, some players aren't the professional on the mic. Like, it was a great game from everybody. Some players need to talk shit, have people talk shit back, and then he goes, "Let's go." And like that's the type of player he is. And I love it. I give him all the credit. He was fantastic. He was, I think, the best goalkeeper of the opening rounds, and obviously, they won.
Yeah. Oh, shout out to Justin Glad for scoring the winning penalty. That's a dude who's been like in and around the men's national team talks, and he's been like, I don't know, what is he like? He's only like 24 or something nonsensical for a guy who I think I've been thinking about as like a future men's national team player for 5 or 6 years. Like.
Look, I'm very happy for him because he's been around RSL for a very long time.
Homegrown player.
I'm sure for him to get that moment's fantastic. The social media video of, I think, his sister watching.
That was fun.
Watching him score the winning PK has been going around. So it's a lot of positive energy for RSL. But maybe just to bring it back down to earth for them, Albert Rusnak was out, similar to Tyler Miller. Either, again, getting COVID himself, being in COVID restrictions, whatever it may be. But Albert Rusnak, their captain, clearly one of their best players, was out, and he is going to be out for the next round's game as well. So tough blow for RSL. But I guess before we dive into our predictions, and we'll kind of quickly run through the next round of games, anything you want to say for Seattle RSL?
Oh no. I think I've spent. I'm spent on those two at this point. No, the highlights don't do that game justice. I'm sure it was nuts to watch in person. And it must have super stressful
to finish up at 3 a.m. Eastern Standard Time.
I have a job to get up for in the morning. I'm not watching that.
If my job consisted of talking on a mic every single day to watch soccer, I'd stay
watch
up
every
till 3
game.
a.m. I'd stay up till 5 a.m. to watch soccer if you told me
absolutely.
to. But
if you guys want to donate to the Patreon,
make this our full-time job. We'll stay up all crazy ass hours to watch games, and we'll do all that. But I have a 9 to 5. I have to pay bills and do that, so that's fun. But let's dive into the conference semis, the second round, the round, the quarterfinals, whatever you want to call it at this point of the MLS Cup Playoffs. And we'll stick chronologically, and we'll stick with the game that is happening tomorrow, because for some reason, Major League Soccer and Don Garber, we're challenging the NFL on Thanksgiving. Smartest move ever.
I have a lot of words to say about Don Garber, but what a jackass. This is such a bad idea.
The cool thing that I did see is that they promoted a Thanksgiving Day game with Michael Barrios and Dairon Asprilla. That's pretty cool.
That's cool. Okay.
On Fox Sports, on FS1, they put out an NFL MLS Cup Playoffs game day promo, and it was Dairon Asprilla and Michael Barrios.
That's so funny.
That is so niche
Who
MLS.
does
That's
that?
fantastic.
Yeah.
But yes, tomorrow, Thursday, Thanksgiving. Happy Thanksgiving to everyone, obviously. But the number one seeded Colorado Rapids are going to be hosting the number 4 seeded Portland Timbers. Those Barrios Espria matchups that we're talking about. This will be the Rapids' first game of these playoffs. Obviously, right? They get that first round bye. But this is going to be on Big Fox. Like, this is going to be on TVs in the country, and I don't know if Portland was the game to pick it for, but
It was supposed to be like Seattle, Portland, because Seattle was supposed to take that 1 seed. Come on.
Maybe, but it was, yeah. And then Robin Fraser was like, Don, fuck you, and then he
I got
came
this.
out, but no. I guess, what are your thoughts immediately thinking about this game? Who stands out to you? Who is a decision maker for you here?
Oh, that's tough because so I'm sitting here going like, Colorado, I crapped on them all season for having zero depth whatsoever.
That's what you did.
You're welcome. Like, all you Rapids fans, you're welcome. You're technically my second team. So like, when I eventually moved to Colorado, it's like, you're my second team. But like, God, like, that team like didn't make sense to me. So I would never have thought they'd make the playoffs, let alone be a 1 seed. Now, it doesn't matter anymore if they have depth or not. Like, I guess except for COVID protocol. Like, so they're gonna go out there and play their game, and like, man, defensively super sound. And as we always say, it's 4 guys that like MLS purists love. You know, like Keegan Rosenberry, Lals Bubakar. Oh no, it's not Sam Vines anymore. Who's their left back? I don't even know.
It's Lucas Esteves.
Oh shit! All right, well there you go. And I don't know. Yeah, and Austin Trusty, yes. And those are three, and then Esteves, who I just learned about now.
And look, I know the MLS games aren't always. I get it.
We don't
MLS
get Colorado games out here.
Aren't always the easiest to come by, and then yes, think about it with Colorado, not always the easiest, but Esteves has been, for those of you who don't know who Lucas Esteves is, a loanee from Palmeiras. So young, very good player. I think he's a 21-year-old Brazilian, if I'm correct about that. 20-year-old Brazilian, something like that. But good player. He's been a nice little fill-in for Sam Vines.
I like that. Okay. Well, then that's cool. All right. So yeah, like, I mean, I don't know. I remember talking about him. I remember talking about him on the podcast when he got signed, and we're like, will he fill in for Sam Vines? I don't know. Maybe. So like, it's good to hear that he's done well. So, I don't know. And then like, there's Portland, who's coming into this game, beating Minnesota pretty handily, all things considered. I don't even know where to start. Like, this is actually, I think, gonna be worth sitting down to watch on Thanksgiving.
On Big Fox. No, look,
I think Big Fox, yeah.
When I think about this game, right, like, I think about that back line, right? Austin Trusty has, I think if he isn't, I haven't really kind of looked at the list, he should be a Defensive Player of the Year finalist this year. He really has exploded from last season. Really loved watching Austin Trusty on the back line.
He's really great.
And like you mentioned, you have this kind of defensive stalwart, a guy who plays every fucking minute, it always seems like, in Keegan Rosenberry. You even have Danny Wilson, you have Lalas Abubakar. Defensively, I just think this team is very, very good. And William Yarborough has had a very good 2021
excellent season.
And no one's really talking about it, but
it's because he plays in Colorado.
And
he's not Tim Howard, my bad.
Yeah. And then I don't know, like, I jumped to that midfield, and I'm like, okay, Cole Bassett, okay, Kellen Acosta,
young,
okay, Mark Anthony Kay, okay, Jack Price,
middle-aged,
okay,
older.
Look, Jack Price has what? He has a shit ton of assists on the season from like a defensive. He has 12 assists on the season from like a defensive midfield spot. Talk about
that's impressive
playmaker. That's what Jack Price is.
Yeah.
And then you have Cole Bassett coming off the bench, right? Talked about him, like. Love that
very
energy
good
coming off the bench.
Very good
and
player.
Then, it's just really, I think the biggest issue is who is going to be that consistent dude scoring the bench. Michael Barrios is their leading goal scorer on the season with 8 goals. That is what it is. Jonathan Lewis has 7, but he scored 2 on decision day.
It's fine.
And it's just like, I think who is going to step up and be that guy who's going to make that impact offensively? Is it going to be what SKC and Nashville have shown with Shalawi and Hani Mukhtar stepping up, or is it going to be what the Red Bulls have shown? Studs defensively, they're holding possession, they're going to go 120 minutes if they have to, but just can't get that final ball in. I don't know which way this one's going. I personally will make my pick now. I'm leaning towards someone will step up, someone will find their way through. I'm kind of hoping it's Cole Bassett who just explodes onto the scene. And I think the Rapids beat the Timbers because the Timbers are also going back to a point from before, super old. I don't believe in Sebastian Blanco. That's it.
So I was actually really expecting you to pick Portland. I'm not gonna lie, especially the way you were going. I was like, I expect. Oh man, This is gonna be tough for me because I'm kind of like, well, Portland are coming off that nice win. Like I think they'll be set up all right to go into this with some momentum. But Colorado's momentum is the number 1 seed in an extra week of rest. So and a very good season. So to me, I have to see this being very close, but I do see Colorado winning this game.
I do think this is a close game. I want to say that. I think that
Steve Clark maybe steps up really well.
And I think you do get a Sebastian Blanco from last week, you do get Jimmy Chara from last week, you get guys like that who kind of just play their natural game. I think Portland can go on the road and make this one a competition.
Also, it's supposed to be 29 degrees in Denver tomorrow.
Let's go. Orange ball,
that's
going
to be freaking miserable.
I want the orange ball. That's it. That's all I want.
Crap, 29 degrees. Like, can you imagine, like, as a goalkeeper, the ball bounces off your hand and you're just like,
the ball just breaks your finger on impact,
Like, let's all remember that William Yarbrough, like, played in Mexico before this.
It can snow in certain parts of Mexico.
Yeah, Leon. I don't
know. I know nothing about Mexico. Can't tell.
Me either. Yeah. But I think Colorado's going to win this game.
I think so. I think it'll be a good game, close game, but I think Colorado wins. Okay. Let's stick with the Western Conference. Sporting Kansas City, the number 3 seed, hosting the number 7 seed Real Salt Lake that we just kind of finished up talking about a few minutes ago. I mean, SKC is going to win this game. That's just plain and simple of me thinking this. RSL bend and didn't broke against Seattle. I don't think they can go another 90 minutes of bending and not breaking with Daniel Shalawi starting, running at them, Johnny Russell starting, running at them, and whoever else you want to say. So I'm going SKC. I'm keeping this one super short. This is the easiest pick of the weekend for me.
It was really funny because you reminded me of the guy in The Big Lebowski, with the mustache, whose name escapes me. I was just watching another show with him. He just looks up and he's like, well, and here's like, SKC. so that's what it was. I don't know. I think it's dangerous to completely discount RSL because riding a hot goalie is kind of nice. But, like, especially someone as insane as Ochoa, because I love that. I think he's super good. But, I think RSL is probably at the end of the line too. When SKC is going to have all of their best players starting right away and just going at them on the front foot, I feel like you have to assume that they'll probably nick a goal or two early.
You can't tell me if, and I'm not saying you, I'm just saying in general, you can't tell me if Rui Diaz, Diaz, Roldan, and Ladero were all starting or got a more than, I guess, whatever, 50 minutes or 45 minutes together, that Seattle wouldn't have found a way to score in that game.
I think you're right.
I think RSL got lucky, and I think you're not going to have Shalawi, Russell, Zusi, Kinda, Shelton. You're not going to have all these guys sitting off some random weird injury thing. Peter Vermees is going to handle business, and SKC will have a nice little trip to the conference finals or semifinals of the entire thing. Yeah.
I think you're right, and I'm so glad that Vaughn's going to pick RSL out of some spooky superstition.
RSL, I mean, Vaughn is just going to go complete opposite into SKC's MLS Cup. That's it. He's picking against SKC the entire time. But let's go to the East. The number 2 seeded Philadelphia Union will be taking on the number 3 seeded Nashville SC in Chester, Pennsylvania. So Philly's really good at home, and Nashville's really shitty on the road, which is my only concern about wanting to pick Nashville, because I really want to pick Nashville. But what are your thoughts?
I too want to pick Nashville, and look, yeah, Philly's really good at home. Philly also just wasted a lot of extra minutes on those legs this season against Red Bulls, who are just not that great, period, and snuck into the playoffs on decision day. As opposed to Nashville, who's one of the most defensively solid teams in the league, let alone the Eastern Conference, who's going to be playing against Philly, another very solid team in the Eastern Conference. So I'm not, exactly, just type it out now, Nashville. I'm picking Nashville. I think that, you can type it out. I agree.
You seem very confident. So
I am. Look, Nashville, I think, is going to walk in. It's going to be a 1-0 game. I think it will be. But I don't think Nashville's going to be needing extra time to do it either. I just think that Philly's kind of at the end of the line right now, and long, short layover into the next game. Just, I don't know. If you can't get it done against Red Bulls, you can't do it against Nashville. I don't know what just happened there.
You all good?
No, that's
a technical error.
No, I just heard like something do that, and I was like, "Oh my god, what's happening?"
Sorry about that. So if you were the listeners and you heard some weird noise, sorry about that. That might have been me hitting a wire. But what?
Good enough.
Okay. I'm picking Philly.
Oh, yes.
I am picking Philly for this reason, and maybe I'm trying to talk myself into it.
It's fine.
Going back to a point I made before, Philadelphia against Red Bulls, who Red Bulls had a top 3 defense in Major League Soccer this year. I think a team that people aren't expecting to be up there defensively. And I'm talking top 3 defense and goals allowed, right? Philly had 3 players who had 0.49 or above unexpected goals. Not a stat guy, but that's pretty cool. And I can say that there was a lot of misses from Santos, Burke, and Shabilko. If I have any type of kind of inkling or feeling about that, you give those guys a second chance in an even bigger game, at least one of the 3 is not going to miss. And I think that those expected goals are going to go into this game. Kai Wagner's going to be dealing. And I think Philly at home, and I think the at-home piece is really the piece kind of pushing me over the edge here. Philly at home is not going to miss those chances 2 straight games. I think Philly win this game and move on.
Tom, you say you're not a stat guy, but you are. You're a stat guy. You're literally speaking what I'm saying.
I really hope that, I know, 2 months ago on an episode, I said I'm a big stat guy, and this episode I'm not. I really hope someone calls me out.
Oh, it's awesome. So, it's like XG is like a number. I'm gonna try to do this quickly. XG is like a number over a season. Like if a striker has like an 11 XG, but he's only scored like 6 goals or something, like
that means he's missing chances.
It means he's missing chances, but the idea is that he's good enough to be getting those XG numbers high enough that he will eventually reach that level. And so what you're saying is, as a stat guy that you're not, is that because they're missing all these chances in this game, but they will reach that target eventually if they just keep getting shots on target.
Yes.
In the same sense that
being at home helps that as well.
Exactly. So you're a stat guy without knowing.
Yeah.
Like 100%. It's all about reaching those kinds of numbers. And if they're 0.49 each or whatever you said before, then eventually if all 3 of them hit that again, theoretically 1.5 goals should come out of this. So
yes.
Yeah, I mean, there should be at least 1 goal involved with Dupe, unless Joe Willis stands on his head.
Yeah. Okay. Look, all fair points. I just think you can't make up the offensive production or the offensive chances that were created in that last game. And I think that you keep Philly, they don't have to travel. They get to play in front of the same crowd that was going nuts. Like, I just like that feeling leading into a final. So that's
Numbers
just,
don't
I'm sorry,
lie. Say it,
into
Tom.
a
Numbers
big
don't
game. So
lie.
the numbers can lie.
No,
But
they
I
literally cannot.
also know Kai Wagner's expected assists were pretty high in that game too. So I just want to point that out. But
Says a lot too.
but I'm picking Philly. Sam, you're going with Nashville. Let's round out this episode with the final game.
Let's do it.
The number 1 seeded New England Revolution, your Supporter Shield champion New England Revolution, will be hosting NYCFC up in Foxborough. I think it's a Tuesday game. It's a midweek game, which is really weird to have your
kind of gross
jewel of the 2021 season playing on a Tuesday, but whatever.
Don Garber doesn't want to mess with Monday Night Football, but he's willing to toast around with Thanksgiving Day games. Okay, this is weird.
And it's on FS1. You don't even have it on Big Box, but whatever.
Right. You know? Okay. It's whatever.
You had a TV slot open on Big Fox on Thanksgiving, and you're like, Michael Barrios, that's the dude. That's the guy right there.
He's like Diego Valeri's gonna score. I swear, he's gonna play even.
He's like Larry's my Biala. That's the dude who's bringing down fucking Tom Brady on Thanksgiving right there. You know, like that's it.
That's the guy.
But let's talk about this one. So obviously the Revs, a week of rest, like we said, for the Rapids. They have their own MVP candidate and probable MVP winner in Carles Hill. I think Adam Buxa had 10 plus goals on the season. Gustavo Bo, Tajon Buchanan, who's going to Club Bruges soon. Brandon Bai, Daewon Jones. The list goes on and on of the amount of studs that are on this starting 11, on this 18, on this team. And Bruce Arena knows his way around an MLS Cup playoff for 2. So this is going to be a tough task for NYCFC. But Sam, I guess, what are your thoughts? Do the Revs handle business at home? Does NYCFC scare you in any type of way going up against the Revolution?
I think it's really funny. Just I'm kind of thinking about it. It's like, oh man, they're gonna really pack out Gillette Stadium on a Tuesday, which they won't, unfortunately, for the Revs. They won't. But I don't think that matters too much to them. I think this team is just really this team's built for big moments, and just exciting play. And God help me when I say that Bruce Arena really is a good coach this year, because I've said a lot of things about Bruce Arena that are not pretty on previous podcasts of previous shows. So, yeah, I think the Revs are kind of going to just handle this one. The problem is going to be New York also has some decent firepower, some solid players, like you said, who are their 2 wingbacks? Who are your 2 wingbacks?
Tavon Gray and Malte Edmondson,
who have been playing very well.
Yes.
So I think that's kind of going to be a challenge, especially for a guy like Brandon Bai, who likes to get forward. So that's a bit difficult. But yeah, I'm not too concerned for the Revs. In all honesty, no offense to you, and NYC a lot more than I do.
Look,
and I know the Revs fair enough, but that's about it.
So what I'll say about this is I'm not trying to do what I did last week and pick Atlanta to eventually push New York City into some type of win. Vaughn and I were going with pick the opposites.
Of course you were.
And it worked. But
Jason and I would both say it must be nice.
But I think New York City on their day can beat anyone in Major League Soccer. 100%. I think they have the talent. They have a lot of, again, you want to go to stats, they have a lot of XG, a lot of XA. It's crazy. It's absolutely
pull
insane.
Out the XG.
But I think the thing that kind of pushes me down on NYCFC a little bit is just the injuries, right? And I said this last week, and I'm not gonna harp on it too much, but if this NYCFC team had Anton Tinnerholm, had Keaton Parks, I would think differently. That's just what it is. I would be thinking way differently if we had arguably the best right back in Major League Soccer on our team, definitely. And Keaton Parks, who was one of the best central midfielders on our team. And you could have guys who we have to force into a starting position coming off the bench, and you're not relying on Alfredo Morales to come on start or come off the bench, or Gideon Zalalem or whatever it may be, right? These are the names that you don't think you want to.
I've forgotten about him.
You don't want to rely on those dudes. And there's a lot of young talent on this team, and I like this team a lot. And I think Tati can set himself up to score any day of the week, but it's not there for me, especially going on the road. You're not in the comfort of a very home-friendly Yankee Stadium, and I just think the Revs have way too much firepower, right? Yeah. Carlos Hill, even if he's not on his game, right, he's not setting everyone up for success. You still got Gustavo Bo, who we've seen perform in MLS Cup Playoffs. You still have Adam Buxa. You still have Tejan. You still have Matt Polster. You have, like you said, Bai and Dawan Jones. They get up the field and they contribute. Kessler, Matt Turner in that. The dude's a game winner on his own, and he's done it against NYCFC this season. He came up with a 12-save performance, I think. I think it was 10 plus. It may not have been 12. That was just the number in my head that he did.
Stats man.
He came up with against NYCFC. And
it's incredible.
And it's just insane that it's not going to happen. We're going to talk about another NYCFC crash out of the playoffs next week, and that's it. I'm accepting it. I'm accepting the fate.
So,
Revs.
To be fair, real quick, I wouldn't call it a crash out against the team that has the record for points in MLS. I think that's different. If you lose like 4-0, yeah. Well, yeah, like at that point, that's a crash out, but that's a different level of crash out than like, we lost 2-1. Bummer. I wouldn't be as concerned. Like, look, you're coming up against a really good team.
And it's obviously a record-setting team, a record-breaking team, and, the last one to do it, because Toronto actually won MLS Cup the year that they set the record. So LAFC, when they did it, they lost in the MLS Cup playoffs, and, that happens, and I guess if it is going to happen, it's going to be some freakish night. And could NYCFC do it on a freakish night? 100%. But I just don't think it's next Tuesday night.
Well, there you go. You heard it here first. RSL is going to beat the Revs in the final on a freakish night. In Foxborough. Yeah, well, because no one's going to show up on a random ass Thursday.
You think the Mormons are traveling from Salt Lake City to Foxborough?
But but neither are the Bostonians.
Don't
some of my favorite
Vermont.
People.
Okay.
Well, I guess that's part of New England.
I guess before we wrap up this episode, is there anything that you wanna close off this episode with?
No, I'm good. I think this was a good one. A good playoff compendium.
A little long, but I think when we do the MLS Cup playoffs, there's a lot to talk about, right? It's exciting times.
Yeah.
The only thing that I want to finish off this episode with is a thank you to our sponsors. Again, Soccer90, soccer90.com as our presenting sponsor to this episode, but also thank you to Added Time Outfitters. If you guys don't know, Added Time Outfitters, make some great, fantastic soccer-inspired wristbands that really tell a 90-minute story on your wrist. I'm wearing my NYCFC one right now, hopefully kind of rubbing some NYCFC luck out into the universe. But go check them out at addedtimeoutfitters.com. Added Time Outfitters on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, I think every other social media site probably. And use promo code MLS Aces. Again, same promo code for Added Time Outfitters and for soccer90.com. MLS Aces, MLSAces, and get yourself a nice little discount on whatever you guys decide to purchase there. Also, just a kind of quick, cool news update for MLS Aces. We actually released a MLS Aces Espanol Twitter account. Our guy Will is running that. He is being very helpful, and he is dealing with my annoying ass asking him to translate tweets and get them up on the account. So thank you, Will.
Hell yeah, Will.
If you guys are looking for some more Spanish content, or just maybe someone to reach out to MLS wise, right, that is speaking Spanish and everything like that, go follow that. Will is, I told him, interact with people, enjoy it, run with it, and just just enjoy it, right, and just kind of spread the love that way as well. Also added a few moderators to our MLS Aces Reddit account, so if you use Reddit, trying to work on building that up a little bit too. So if you do, go for it. Follow us there, and definitely give some love there as well. But that's all I got. So I'm gonna say bye. Sam, thank you very much for podcasting with me tonight.
Cheers. Thanks for having me.